Welcome to Absurdly Nerd. This is our recap and review of The Last of Us Episode 3, titled Long, Long Time. And we'll just start from the beginning on this one.
Really liked this episode. It was a longer one. It was almost twice. It had about 40 minutes to last week's. What was really cool is this is a fan favorite character of Bill, and we pretty much see from day of apocalypse starting to his end point. Like you get his whole timeline in this episode.
It's kind of it was a wild experience in that regard. I'm gonna start from the start with Ellie and Joel.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that is something. Well, actually, the first thing I want to say is I think this is going to win a lot of awards.
Yeah,
like the way it's shot, the cinematography, the acting is stellar. The decisions were really awesome in my opinion. But starting with Joel and Ellie and them finding the ditch with all the people in it and getting that backstory.
I about that part.
Yeah, well, we got that backstory and we looked at each other like, I don't need this. You know, like we didn't want it. Like it's such a sad thing just to see the skeletons there. And like they cut back to when everything happened like that. And that's how you find out about Bill, and Bill, you know, sliding by and would have been one of those people in the ditch.
I don't think the casting could have got better for Bill. I think that's
perfect. Nick Offerman killed it. He was amazing in this.
Besides, I know I'm kind of going out of order, but the only disappointment I have with this episode is not getting to see Bill and Ellie interact.
Yeah, I was going to say with the decisions made here, spoiler review, by the way. The decisions made here to, like you said, end his story in this episode.
It ended in a happier place than it does in the game.
For sure.
It also takes away some of the more comedic parts of the game, I guess, with the Ellie and Bill back and forth.
Well,
so it's a little give and take.
Like with the last episode, we're going to have to just accept that we're not seeing this in the same light as the game, which is good. Like, because my pause going into this show was like, I've seen the game. What more can I see? Exactly. Why do I need to watch it? Well, they're showing me why I need to watch it, because this took it and it put a whole new spin on it. And you got to see a character in a different light out of the time. Well, the whole time I was expecting him, like, how does he get to being bitter Bill that we know, you know, like the experience we had with him.
That's why I was watching. I was like, what happens to make him hate the world more than he already did?
Yeah.
What's crazy to me is they took this hour and 20-minute episode and it's basically letters. Most of the story comes from the letters you find of Frank and Bill's relationship. And so it is a little different than it went in the game, but it's better for it because it gives them a better ending than it.
Yeah.
Bill, like, we don't see him anymore in the game. Once you leave that area, he's just, you kind of guess what happened to him.
Yeah, you can just assume he was a miserable, lonely guy for the rest of it. Yeah. So in this case, he got to have a happy existence and, you know, like not be bitter. Like, because I was like, wow, he's ungrateful. Like he got to have the best life of anyone you see in this game, in this series, in this world. And he's still going to be like this to Ellie. And then we find out he isn't anything to Ellie. He's just a letter that she reads. And I think that's special when you consider this as an adaptation. And I think they considered that they don't have that many, you know, likable characters. Like to us, we like Joel and Ellie, you know, but like to the outside, maybe that wouldn't be as much so. Like, I don't know, like to people that didn't play the game, that don't have the experience with them, like, well, they'll grow to like them. But I think Bill was the first step in being like, okay, not everybody is lost in this world. Yeah. You know, like some people found a way to have a good life. And then that gives you the hope of what it can be for Joel and Ellie.
It was so weird seeing them sit down like outside, like a picnic almost. It was Joel, Tess, and Frank and Bill. It felt so out of place for this world. It was like such a well shot scene, but it was like, this feels so weird.
Yeah.
Like when you're used to seeing everything tore down and like it was cool to kind of see him have a normal lunch.
I think that's why this episode is so praiseworthy, is because it's that like slice of heaven inside of this hell.
This little utopia.
Right, yeah. And we skip past it, but I think the montage of the work that went into making this slice of heaven is very important, because you see that Bill was going to do whatever it took. Regardless, you know, he's going to make his life work. And I think you see that with his relationship. Yeah. Like he was always going to find a way to make that work, all the way down to dying with his loved one, you know, like to dying with Frank, just drinking it anyway. Like, I think it's so well told, the symbology throughout this episode. And I do think it's going to get a lot of Emmy nominations for best episode or best
even I like seeing like the little bit of the infected we saw was like Ellie kind of messing with that one, and then you see the one.
I forgot about that part too.
Then you get to see the one getting to one of Bill's traps, which was cool to see when he has traps and
action. Yeah, I did think of that. If I'm giving a letter grade here, I'm saying a solid A. I know there's a lot of people that probably would say it's a perfect episode, but this is The Last of Us after all, and it for a moment didn't feel like it. Right. Like I was like, wow, there's hardly any zombies here. Like there was her, like you said, messing with it, and then the one that dies, and then the rest of it is all humanity. And that's not a bad thing. It's like when in the big scheme of this season, I think it's a really good thing to have this one thing to reflect on and be like, wow, it could have been perfect if Joel and Ellie stayed here or whatever, thinking of there's potential for good if you just know where to be and what to stay away from.
Not really bummed about, and it's not like affecting what I would grade this, but the way we're watching is week to week. Like it's just when it airs. Yeah. So it's like when I don't have much Joe and Ellie, I'm like, man, that's another whole week. I got to see them again because I feel like we haven't gotten as much as them as I've wanted.
Right. This seemed to ramp it up at the end there. You can see the relationship building. Yeah. Like after she read the letter and everything. And then you see the preview for the next one. And I feel like that's where we're going to get them connecting. Yeah. I think this needed to happen for world building's sake. And I think it was done extremely well.
Too. The set was perfect. Like it's
the set was so good.
HBO just has that quality about it that you feel part like this is a lived-in world.
Yeah, they don't miss anything. Like there's nothing you're gonna look at and be like, oh, this is a set. Like everything. I was looking at the buildings whenever it got to them being in the old age section, like in 2023, and the buildings look perfectly aged to what it should be in that world. I take note of the little things like that in shows that would be immersion breaking. I was like, wow, they took the job seriously here.
I think all the music choices in this episode was very good, and you got the theme come back when she's reading the letter. Like it was all the little callbacks and stuff was really good.
That was an important part of the episode to tie it all together through the same song, basically, like along the way.
Yeah, the one they were playing on the piano, and that's the one they're listening to and they leave. Yeah, I love that.
This. My biggest praise I can give it is this could have been a movie.
Yeah.
Like, an hour and 20. I mean, you could have milked it a little longer and made it a feature-length theater movie, and so many people would have loved it.
Yeah.
But they fit it inside of a already great season that we know has great things to come. So I think this is just going to pay it forward to the rest of the season.
I said this last week, and I'll probably say it next week, but my favorite part of them deciding to do this show is the little things that we read about in letters and backstory that we just kind of hear what one sentence is on. We get that fleshed out in this. And we get to get more of a complete picture, I think, of this, what this world
and
is.
Naturally, too. It's not just like, hey, here's this letter. No, let's write a little story to go along with it. Like, it feels like you're seeing the backstory to it. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain it, but HBO has a way of making things gel in a natural way. And this episode is no different. But yeah, we both really enjoyed the episode, and the season as a whole has been really good to us so far. We can't wait to see what comes next.
And it got renewed for season 2 this week.
Yeah, so. I'm glad they held off.
Yeah,
a little bit instead of doing it right out the gate. It's like make you wait for it a little bit. But we're looking forward to more of it, and we hope you subscribe and like and let us know what you thought of the episode. But until next time, stay nerdy.